And we're live. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's live. We didn't do it last week. Just missed timing, and I'm a little bit late here, actually, but that's all right. So this week, I actually had a topic that I was interested in talking about, just because it was like really playing on my mind last week, especially last night. And we'll get into that later on. No one's here yet, so we'll we'll wait for things to kind of see if anybody joins us today. If not, we'll do our usual, where we're gonna do. So if you haven't joined us before, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull a guidance card, an activity card, an affirmation card, and an inspiration card, and we're just gonna use that to kind of go into the week and see how it unfolds, just kind of getting the mindset right for the beginning of the week, Excuse me, I am doing all right. How are you all doing? All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull out we're going to pull out one card for each category and kind of set the tone for our week. And then if people join us and we start getting activity here, we might do a couple of personal polls. If you want a personal inspiration for the week, then we'll go ahead and do that. Or if you want some personal guidance, then we'll do one of those as well. But that's normally what we do. So we're just going to go ahead and get into it. So those people who are watching later on don't have a whole bunch of stuff to get through. A lot of people can't make it at this time, so they catch up later. So definitely want them to not have to sit through my rambling nonsense, and we'll let that play out later if we get a later. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. All right, let's do this. I should actually come up with an order for these things, like which one's first, huh? Let's see. No peeking, no looking. Oof, I cannot do that shuffling that you can do. Okay, that's like way more than me. Okay. Affirmation, inspiration, activity, and guidance. Those are next ones. Sorry. Getting a little lost in my head right now. Hey, look at that. Activity and guidance. All right. Then I want to put these in a kind of order. Need the book. Peyton the Nerd, hello. I always like to put these up and let people know that I'm not just talking to myself. I mean, I am most of the time in these videos, especially when they start out. I am just talking to myself, but that's all right. I'm talking to future you, maybe. Maybe I'm talking to future me. Hello, Peyton, by the way. Hello. Let's see. What kind of order do we want to do this weekend? So I think activity should always be the last one. Let's do some inspiration, right? We want to guidance for the week. Let's do guidance, activity, and let's start off with affirmations. How about that? How about we do it that way? I don't think I've fully woken up yet. I don't think I'm there. All right. And then I do have a topic I kind of want to rant about or ramble about. So maybe we'll get sidetracked on that. Maybe we won't. All right. So we're starting off. So for this week of July 11th, right? Technically started I don't know. Or the 10th if you start today. Some people start on Monday. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Everybody, time's a man-made construct. It really doesn't matter. So we're going to start off with an affirmation to help guide you through this week. And this doesn't even apply to a certain time, right? You could be watching this 5 months from now. Doesn't matter. You can still use this. Albert Ortega, hello. May the force be with you and with you. and with you. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Peyton, Albert, whoever else is joining us. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna start off with our affirmation for the week. Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna start taking some of these out. All right, we've done this one before a few times. I am limitless. I have the potential to do anything and to be anyone. There are no boundaries to what I can achieve. I say, oh man, just because polling this one, we pulled it a couple times. I would love to pull a different affirmation, but maybe someone out there needs this, and maybe this is the time that they need it. All right. So remember that you are limitless, and you have the potential to do anything and be anyone. There are no boundaries to what you can achieve. So use that information. Use that affirmation for yourself. I am limitless. And it's all a question of like who you want to be. You know, you can be that person. Be the person that, you wish you had had in your life, Be the mentor you wish you had. All right. So called to a mysterious cave beneath the cliffs of, how do you say that? Aktu? Ray finds herself gazing at a seemingly endless string of her reflections. She ponders her true self, hoping that her past will provide clearer insight into her future. When you look into the mirror, what do you see? Looking beyond who you are right at this moment, can you begin to see the person you might become? So that's important. I hope so. I want to be limitless. You are limitless. You are limitless. The limits, there's certain limits that we could get into if you wanted to be like super like specific with it or super literal with it. But the reality is oftentimes the limits that we find ourselves are the limits that we've placed on ourselves. And we find that we're not listening to our inner self. We're not listening to the voices. We're not listening to the voices, right? We're not listening to that inner voice inside of us. We're not listening to the voices of our dreams. That's what I was trying to go for. We're not listening to the concept of the universe. We're often listening to someone else in our life, or and so usually someone we tend to respect, someone like parental figures or things of that nature, right? So we are pretty limitless in our being. It's just that we kind of grow up in a world and a society that says otherwise, and especially at a young age, and we have to break that. But the truth is, hey, you are limitless. You can't just do anything, because not everybody is meant for everything, right? And not everything is meant for you, right? So you just got to find what's Tao. Yeah, go with the flow. But here's the thing with the Tao: force, Zoe, flow, chi, right? Whatever terminology, whatever word you want to use. And I definitely believe in the analogy of like a river. So like going with the flow, going with the Tao, flowing with the Tao is all good. But if you look at it like a river, you don't just let yourself succumb to the currents per se, or you're going to crash on rocks, right? You got to steer a bit. As you're going with the flow. You got to kind of to avoid some of the obstacles and make that journey a bit smoother. That doesn't mean fighting against it. That doesn't mean trying to go against the current, but you're still going with the flow, but you still need to navigate. All right, for our next one, we're going to pull the inspiration card. One of my favorite cards right here. I like it. And here you go. This kind of goes in line with what we were talking about. I am one with the force is with me. We actually have a meditation on this channel where I repeat that a bunch of times. It's not very good. I don't recommend it, but we have it. So you are connected with all that exists in the universe. you are never truly alone. I am one with the Force is with me. I really like this card. So let's see. It's got a little book thing. And one of my favorite characters, I really like that. I really like Emily. Awesome person. But this is a good card, and this fits with what we were talking about, right? We're talking about, you are connected. That all exists in the universe, and we must flow with the Tao, or Zoe, or flow, or force, or however you want to say it. You don't have to be a Jedi to believe that a powerful energy binds all things in the galaxy together. Those who have faith in that power, like warrior monk Chewit Emwe, find strength in the knowledge that the Force will be their guide. What do you think the Force is? Do you ever feel a greater connection with the world around you? How does that impact your decisions? This is a really good one. I really like this one. I'm glad we pulled this one. This is a good one. I really like that. Base Jedi, what's going on? What's up, Base? Glad you could join us. But yeah, I really like this card. I think it flows well. I am one with the Force. The Force is with me. And, the book asks some good questions. What do you define the Force as? And, have you felt connected to that greater thing, Zoe, right? And how does that affect your decisions? How does that play out? Understanding that you're connected to this thing. How does that ultimately affect how you move through life, or does it at all? All right, so going forward for the week, be one with the Force. The Force is with you. The Force is with you. All right, we will go. Excuse me. We will go with a guidance for the week. Here's our guidance. Okay, if I'm going to read it from this angle, I've got to hold it still. The Jedi believe that the Force is all around us. Our beliefs can guide us, but also overwhelm us. Focus on what you know. Every experience makes you who you are. That's a good one. This is another good guidance. I really like this one. I really oh, it's Zoe. It's just ZO. It's just Zoe. Zoe is from Zoism, and you won't find much on it, and what you will find isn't technically accurate. I mean, there's a base there, but it's part of the history of Zoism. And then so a part of so I have like I probably have three major things that define me in the spiritual, or I don't even know if you call it spiritual, but in the thing, right? I have Jedi, or Jediism if you're inclined. I'm not a big fan of isms, but Jedi, the Jedi path, the Force, right? And funny enough, not a big fan of isms, but then Zoism, which if you're talking about the Force, then you're talking about the Zoe, right? And it's similar, similar concepts. It's the idea that the universe, right? There is this current, there is this flow, there is this. I don't like technically the term energy. I personally don't like it because energy is a result of something, right? It is like energy from kinetic movement, or energy from heat. Energy is a reaction. And so I personally don't like that, but whatever. That's a whole other bag. Anyways, point being that there's this flow. There's this, if you want, energy. There's this force, right? Some people call it the Tao. There's innumerable words for it. Some flow really great together that they almost seem like the same word or different words for the same thing. And some, they seem connected but a little different. Prana, mana, those, if you read the concepts, certainly fit into the idea of the Force, but they don't fit perfectly with everything else, right? But the idea is, it's like the three blind men. I don't know if you ever heard that parable about the three blind men touching different parts of the elephant and describing it. and they each describe it as something different, and none of them know that it's an elephant. None of them are able to describe the elephant. What they're describing is just that part that they're able to touch, and that's it, right? um and I think the flow of the universe, same thing, right? Through our culture, and culture meaning both time and place. But through our culture, we tend to experience those things in a very specific manner, a very small window, and we explain those with the window that we have. We explain the universe through the window that we have, right? And so force Zoe, and then my other thing is, I'm in the vampire community, but like it's, but again, that's pretty. It doesn't really have its. Well, I mean, it does and it doesn't. It doesn't really have its own uh, like words for it. It uses the words that are pretty well established in other communities, such as energy, and things of that nature. But uh, anyways, point being, Zoe is from Zoism, which is a spiritual thing, which ultimately relates to the Force, which ultimately relates to Tao, which ultimately relates to just this inevitable uh, thing in the universe, this inevitable current in the universe that we all kind of tap into, and we all kind of experience, and then we all kind of frame in our own way. And we all kind of experience, describe, and label in our own way. And for me, I use Zoe as shorthand. It's just saying, yeah, that thing. It's just like the Force. It's a stand-in word. That's all. Anyways, so for those people who are wondering why I was on that rant, things will send me down that rant. All right, let's go. All right, so we have guidance, and I'm just gonna go with it again. Jedi believe that the Force is all around us. Our beliefs can guide us, but also overwhelm us. Focus on what you know. Every experience makes you who you are. This one's really good. This one's really good. Let's see. PTSD leads to the dark side. Nothing technically leads to the dark side. PTSD is a very understandable reaction to very horrific events. Basically, it boils down to, if we're just gonna, minimize it, is when the fight or flight reflex, the adrenaline glands work way overtime, and you're in a heightened sense of awareness because you find yourself in a quote unquote dangerous situation, which is obviously a broad definition. And it doesn't, and you're on there too long, and your brain is not meant to experience the adrenaline and the heightened state of danger, of awareness, for that long, for long periods of time. It's meant to be a quick thing, right? That's how we're designed. We're designed for quick things. And so anytime you experience that over days, weeks, months, and you're just constantly in this state, it does not work well, and we develop coping mechanisms and trigger mechanisms and things that grab onto that state. And PTSD is simply uh, a result of that, and doesn't lead anywhere. There's plenty of people who experience. You have people with CPTSD, which is complex. The C stands for complex. You have people with PTSD, and the results and the reasons, or where those results come from, the reasons why they have PTSD do vary. And a lot of those reasons can be dark in themselves. The things that people went through that put that on them can absolutely be labeled dark. So, but PTSD itself doesn't actually lead you anywhere. It's tough. It's rough. People definitely uh, have to work with it and work through it, and it's not easy. right? But that's why I'm glad to see that there's a lot of apps and a lot of programs out there now that have a lot of free services that help people work through that, because it's important to get that help to work through those things. It's important to talk to professionals to work through those things. PTSD is not bad in itself. It's again, it's a reaction of something that happened, from being in that heightened state of awareness for so long, being in that kind of, where you're always on edge for so long, and the body's just not meant for that. So it's a reactionary thing, and it sticks with people. It requires management, and it requires understanding, and it requires working through it. But in and of itself is technically not a bad thing. There's not a lot of bad things in this thing, in this world. um Anger, it's like if you replace PTSD with anger, right? Because anger is often a is one of those masking mechanisms for it, and for pain and for hurt in general. Anger doesn't really lead to the dark side. It's when that allows us to blind us, that and we use it and we act on it and we go with knee jerk reactions. That's what leads us to the dark side. And this is why I label the dark side is not, there is no such thing as darkness, right? It's scientifically speaking, like there's no dark. It's dark, right? Darkness is the absence of light. And so I describe dark side as ignorance. And that very much goes for ourselves. And you have to be willing to shine the light of knowledge and self-reflection into those dark spots. But again, you talk to professionals and stuff like that to work through those things, and that's what you do. And you create things. There's nothing inherently dark. Again, with anger, it's not inherently dark. What you do is you shine the light of knowledge, of understanding, of self-reflection. Why is this thing making me angry? What can I do? You don't act on it, right? You don't act on it. You don't. As long as you're doing that, it's the actions. It's what you do, and it's understanding how much control you actually have. C of PTSD and PTSD itself can often lead to trigger like knee jerk reactions and things of that nature. So you have to work through it, and you have to work with someone who knows what they're doing. That's important. You have to work with the professionals because they know how to manage it. They know the roadmap to kind of doing that in a much more safe and controlled environment, right? They know how to get there. And it's not, there's, never shame, and never take this kind of view, because it's like putting it on yourself, like, oh, I'm darkness, I'm bad, I'm evil, or I'm thing. And you're not. You're human, and humans are this very complex array of things. You're a sentient being in a very chaotic universe, like so it's no, not dark side. Difficult, absolutely, but not dark side. Let's see what our activity is. All right, we pulled this one again too, but activity for the week. Think of someone you care about and make the effort to remind them that you are there for them. Excuse me. Take the time to write them a letter by hand and mail it to them. They will appreciate the unexpected gift. Does anybody write letters anymore? I hope so. I really hope so. When I was a kid, my grandmother made me do it all the time. I would write letters by hand and then mail them off. But so here's our activity for the week. Think of someone you care about and make the effort to remind them that you are there for them. Take the time to write them write them a letter by hand and mail it to them. They will appreciate the unexpected gift. So yeah, to find a mentor is extremely hard nowadays. That I have no doubts, for more than one reason. But yeah, that's why I encourage more of the self-reflection path, and more of the grabbing there's plenty of resources to kind of do it on your own these days, and I kind of encourage that route. Community, the online community is always questionable at best, and so it can be really difficult. Unfortunately, things like meetup groups and things like that is not only still questionable, right? But you still have like it's so spread out, and it might not be available in your area, and you might not be able to find anybody around you. So it can be really difficult. Main thing is to trust yourself, trust the original sources, and the way you trust yourself is to kind of build that experience, right? And so you grab onto sources like we've talked about it before on this channel, where you can grab like how to be more Obi-Wan is a book, Be More Yoda is a book, the Jedi Mind is a book, as well as the Situational Jedi. Those things are available to kind of use and kind of navigate the waters of life, you know what I mean? So that's an important thing. That's an important thing. Let's see. We should start a Jedi penal type thing. Penal? Panel? Penal? Like penal colony? Like, I don't, wait. I don't know. Explain that one to me, Journey of Me. And then also, hello. Thank you for joining us. I don't think I'm saying this right. I don't think my brain's not understanding. My brain's not understanding this. What can I, or where can I find the resources to do it on your own? Oh, Pen Pal. Pen Pal. Oh, okay. Yeah. No. All right. Got you. It was like, okay. Yeah. I was like, penal colony. All right. I mean, if you want to. So yeah, Pen Pal. That's actually a really good idea. I'm totally for that. Where can I find resources to do it on your own? So again, the book, if you can, and if you can't, I'm going to list some free resources too. But if you can pick up books, then Be More Yoda, Be More Obi-Wan. They're not very expensive. They're not very big. Are two that I recommend. They're by Disney. They're by Star Wars, like they're the official books. And they're just short little blurbs that can help you, and written by a guy who's in that field. I think he's a psychology or something, to help set your mind right in the Jedi mindset, the Situational Jedi. All these books can be found on like Amazon or BarnesandNobles.com. The Situational Jedi can also be found there, and that's again situational, where meaning like, okay, you feel anger or you feel heartbreak or things. There's like quotes and concepts in there that you can use. But there's plenty of resources online you can look at. You can look up things like the Jedi Circle online. You can look up, Jedi Rules of Behavior. You can look up, if you want to, the 33 teachings of the Jedi. I don't agree with all of them, but it's at least it's food for thought and things like that. You'll find plenty of resources. You type in Jedi training in any sort of online thing, you're gonna get resources. The validity of which you're just gonna have to take it with a grain of salt. You're gonna have to like try out your meditations. And of course, Jedi Living YouTube channel has meditations. We have all sorts of, we have like 400 videos on this channel. Like, you can dig through them. You'll find it. I agree with you. Jedi are inspiring. Book of Proverbs is a good one. It can be. Again, grain of salt. There are, like all things, there are some in there where you're like, whew, I don't know about that one. But yeah, Book of Proverbs is always a good read. Jedi are all about wisdom. That they are. But what is wisdom? I think 48 Laws of Power is like studying the dark side. Well, 48 Laws of Power, and one, that's a book I have read. It's just about, it's more narcissistic in concept. it's and yeah, when you're talking about light or dark in those kind of terms, you view Jedi as more uh so it starts within and it works outward, right? Where we look to extend our sphere of influence outward, and we look to help people, and we look to better this place, and we look to, and that all starts within and we move outward, right? Where books like the 48 Laws of Power, it is about starting within, but it's for the self, right? Jedi start within for the bigger picture, where things like 48 Laws of Power start with the self for the self. It's not meant to go beyond you. Everything beyond you is a tool to be used. And sure, you could say that's like studying the dark side. There's some stuff in there, and there's things. I wouldn't say it's a necessary read. It's a pretty long book. It's one of those. It does that thing. It's one of those books that I don't like because it's technically a self help book, and it does what all the self help books do, which basically add in other people's stories and testimonials in the book. So if you're reading a specific chapter, a good chunk of that chapter is just someone's story, and like who knows if that's real. Like that's probably made up by the author, like I never take those things as like, oh, and we're gonna mention how Charlie, he used this and this is what happened in his life, and it's this whole story, and like, and then they use that story to then try to make their point, whether for or against whatever their chapter's about. And self-help books use that stuff all the time, this story, this made up, oh, here's this person and we're gonna say, and it's like, yeah, I it takes me out of the reading. Like I'm not there for that, right? I'm not reading that for other people's stories. It's this thing. It's a deceptive book. I don't know. It seems pretty clear in its intent. It seems pretty clear in its intent. But yeah, I mean, like it teaches you like to keep things close to the vest, to not share things, like to manipulate people, like to and it doesn't tell you how to do that. It just says here's the value of these things. It's very wanna be Machiavellian. But hey, Robert Greene, he's doing financially fine. So like, I mean, obviously he gets to stand behind that, right? His other book, what is 23 Laws of Attraction, I think it is. It's just basic psychology written down. It's just basic psychology broken down and added with that kind of Machiavellian concept and twist. I don't know. If you want to read it, if people want to read it, they can. I found it to be I've read it. It's probably sitting on my, oh, it's right over there. Yeah. I got it right over there. And it's worn. It's worn. I've had it for years and I've looked into it. I've gone through it. But yeah, I don't recommend it. There's better books. There's better books. I have felt extremely Sithy lately. It is okay to feel that way. The society and world has been encouraging that lately. And those are the growing pains. That's what happens. Okay. We are in this point in society and in the world because we're on this precipice. We are here in this changing time. And guess what about change? It is not easy. But we live in a society where information is literally at our fingertips and we can learn just about everything, and we can disprove so many misconceptions about life and about society and about other countries and about other cultures. People want to put on some sort of bigotry and talk down, like, oh, but they do this, and then you can Google that and find out that's not accurate at all, and that's a stereotype that's been persistent only from like the 1930s or something like that, right? Like you can find information now that's much more suitable, and you're able to connect to people across the globe. I still check in with people from the Ukraine right now, and like they're having a horrible time, and they're sharing what the Russian news is saying about those things, and while they're there and while they're experiencing it, and it's made them feel very Sithy. They have a lot of anger and a lot of hate because of what they're experiencing. But again, like the point being is that we are in this point of that. We are the caterpillar turning into a butterfly. In order for that to happen, the caterpillar gets reduced to glue or goo. All right, not glue, but goo. It's goop. It's not a easy process. It's not a fun process. It is complete restructuring, and it usually means boiling down to nothing first. And so our society, our world is in that. So you feeling extremely Sithy is not surprising. It is not. Let's see if we can find some guidance on. We'll do a guidance or inspiration. Which one you want, Albert? Which one you want? You want guidance or inspiration on feeling Sithy lately? You tell me. You tell me. Guidance or inspiration? We'll do one. We'll see what happens. We'll see what it says. Do Jedi believe in heaven? Albert, tell me if you want inspiration. I have inspiration here. Tell me if you want inspiration or guidance, and we'll get into it. But it's valid to feel that way, and I'm gonna actually hold on to that one just in case. And we'll get into why. You know, do Jedi believe in heaven? And it's Jedi is both plural and singular, so you don't need the S. Most people don't know that, but Jedi is like one Jedi and 10 Jedi, you know. So yeah, and that's for each individual Jedi to decide for themselves. Jedi is not a religion in the sense of telling you what you believe or anything like that. You can be a Jedi, you can be a Christian, you can be a Jedi, and you can be Buddhist. You can be a Jedi, and you can do all sorts of things. So whether or not Jedi believe in heaven is up to the individual Jedi themselves. Some Jedi believe in heaven, some Jedi do not. But it's up to each Jedi to determine their own spiritual wellness. So in the Jedi path, we teach and we preach spiritual wellness. That's a core part of being a Jedi. You want to have that. It's physical wellness, emotional wellness, intellectual wellness, spiritual wellness, and social wellness. You want to have those 5 areas of wellness, right? And the Jedi teach that. And for you, or for any Jedi, right, is for spiritual wellness is to determine that answer for yourself. George Lucas said, and this is good because George Lucas said he wanted Star Wars to have people asking the big questions. He hoped that the Jedi and the Force would inspire people in Star Wars after watching Star Wars to ask the big questions. Like, is there a God? Is there a thing? The teaching of the Sith seem more valid to me. Valid how? In what way? Which teaching? Which teaching? The Darth Bane book. I find myself reading Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, and I identify about what he talks about. Sure, but that book, you have to also remember there's 2 things with that, right? And yeah, because and I mean, he's classic anti-hero really in that book, right? Because he is basically tearing down the Sith, right? He's tearing down the Sith. You got to remember that things he's talking about there are actually in contrast to what the Sith are at that time, right? He's in opposition to the Sith. Let's see what this one was. All right, let's do, what did I say? Guidance? Let's do a guidance. Guidance. Yeah, that's what you said. Guidance. All right. Hang on, Ortega. We'll get there. Are Jedi smart fellas or fart smellers? Ooh, we got someone of highbrow comedy. What's going on, Nicholas Kruger? Funny. I knew that name. That name has come up recently. All right, guidance. There you go. Being a leader takes hard work and sacrifice. Start simple by setting a good example and helping others every day. Now that probably doesn't ring a whole lot with good old Darth Bane. This actually touches on what I wanted to talk about today. Even though we got 40 minutes in, I haven't talked about it at all. This is actually something that I wanted to talk about. It's been bugging me lately. But I would say this, Albert, because you're feeling that way and relating to Darth Bane. Again, no one's telling you can't like a character, and no one's telling you can't find characters inspirational. Well, you know what? We're just gonna move past that. We're gonna move past that word. It's not working for me today. But I guess that answers the question for you, Nicholas. So mainly you have to consider, all right, I like this person, but why do you like that person? Right? Dig into it. Dig into what you appreciate about them, and understand that things like determination, change, being strong-willed, like those aren't against the Jedi path. You gotta don't get fooled by the Star Wars, the false dichotomy of Star Wars, right? The false dichotomy of Star Wars is this and this, light and dark, and that makes for great storytelling. But the real world doesn't really work like that. And we are very complex individuals. And even in Star Wars, even in that false dichotomy, we see characters that represent things that we might consider dark side according to the fictional lore, right? Mace Windu is very intense, very driven, very focused, right? We see things like, recklessness on Obi-Wan Kenobi's part and things of that nature. So we have these concepts of that we might put to the dark side, which are really just overall traits of people. And again, of being a leader. Being a leader takes hard work and sacrifice. It's not an easy journey. Being a Jedi is not an easy thing. Just like in the book, Darth Bane has to go through his own little hero's journey, right? Of what he's going through and everything like that, and the sacrifices and stuff. But really dig into why is that? Like, what is it really appealing about? And is that truly outside of the Jedi philosophy? Is that truly outside of the Jedi path? You define that. Define evil. There's this also available if anybody wants a personal reading, by the way. We're just rambling and talking now, but if you want a personal reading, if you want a guidance or inspiration or affirmation or activity for the week, just for you, let me know. We'll pull a card for you. We'll just put that out there, right? But define evil. I feel evil. What's evil? What's evil? What makes you evil? What define it? You can feel however you feel. Affirmation for our... I'm giving you time, Albert. Let's just shake these up. We'll do an affirmation here. Oh, let's not do it with the book. It's hard to shuffle with the book in there. All right. All right. We'll get you right coming up. No, you know what? That's where my mind was at. All right. So we're pulling affirmation for... Hang on. Whoa. Okay. All right. So for you, Lord, 2 cards came out, and here we go. We're starting with this one. I like this one. I am enough. I might feel small right now, but size matters not. What really counts is the difference I make in the world around me. Huh? That's a good one. That's a good one. So you are enough. And what counts is the difference you make, right? It's a good one. And this one also pulled out, I am determined. When I'm on a mission, I won't stop until it has been completed. The world may put obstacles in my way, but I keep rolling ahead. Those are both good. I am determined. So tell yourself, I am enough and I am determined. I am enough and I am determined. Keep those two things in your mind this week going forward. All right. All right. Journey and me. Inspiration card. Two fell out. Let's start with this one. You can't stop change any more than you can stop the suns from setting. Change is a natural part of life that can't be avoided. It's what helps you learn and grow. And don't trust your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them. There are many ways to interpret a situation. Look at it from all angles before you draw a conclusion. So those are your inspirations. Journey of me for the week ahead. Can't stop the change. And, don't always trust what you see. Look at it from all angles. Don't jump to conclusions, basically. I feel like that one's saying more than anything. Can't stop the change, but don't jump to conclusions. Wow, great reading. Thanks. Happy to help. That's what the cards are here for. It's not me. I found Darth Vader's explanation for the meaning of equality. Equality is a myth. It's not a myth. It's a social construct, and it's not a myth, even in nature. So here's the funny thing about equal doesn't mean the same. Equal doesn't mean the same. That is the misunderstanding of equality. But here's one thing I will tell you about life. Here's one thing I'll tell you about the universe. It doesn't care about all of us equally. It's not playing favorites. It's not punishing anybody more. It's not praising anybody more. And that goes all the way down to base nature. That goes all the way down to the bird that gets the worm. The universe didn't choose that worm. The universe doesn't care equally. The idea of equality on a sentient being level is a social thing. We're talking about social equality, and there is equality. This is a false dichotomy that goes along with the same thing as balance in the Force, where people think 2 Jedi and 2 Sith equal balance, but those things aren't balanced. Those things aren't balanced at all. And the way I've described it in another video is if you find yourself in a cave and it's been caved in, and it's just loose dirt, but it's you're gonna have to dig your way out. You have your choices of 2 spoons, right? 2 spoons. You have either 2 plastic spoons or 2 metal spoons. Do you think those 2 things are equal just because there's 2 of them? Or are you going to want those metal spoons, right? Equality is like that, right? Equality is this concept that's like, oh, these things, Darth Vader's trying to say, look, those 2 things, they're not equal. Those 2 things, there's always a hierarchy. There's always some level. There's always someone above someone else. There's always something like that. Again, equality though is thing. Is there someone who's always going to be better at you at pool? Yeah. But does that mean you're not equal as living creatures? No. Right? Does that mean, so, going back to the spoon things, right? You have your 2 things, digging out of a cave. Which one do you want? You want the metal spoons because they're better for that thing. Now, if you're eating soup, does it matter? Does it matter which whether it's a plastic spoon or a metal spoon? You know, when we're talking about equality, we're not talking about we're not talking about people being better than one another, because that's silly, and it's absolutely it's silly, because none of that changes the reality of things. None of that changes the fact that we're all sentient beings, just trying to make our way through the galaxy, right? Uh, yeah, I'll get to that, Lord. That's a whole other topic, and that's easy enough to smush away. But equality is still exists across all things. That doesn't mean that there isn't someone better at something than another person. And that doesn't mean that someone's not smarter than another person, or someone not more physically capable than another person. I mean, we see it all the time in the Olympics. I am not winning a race against Michael Phelps in the pool. That's just not happening, right? I am not equal to Michael Phelps in that, but does that afford Michael Phelps more rights than me? Does that afford Michael Phelps allowance to be president, or to make me his slave, or like any of that stuff? No, no. So this idea that there is inequality, right? That equality is a myth. It's like, no, things aren't always equal, right? Some people are better at things than other people, but that doesn't change the fundamentalness of it all, right? That doesn't change the fundamentalness of it all. The Force does not play favorites. The Force, you're equal in the eyes of the Force. We're all equal in the eyes of the universe. The universe views us all the same. And if you want to go back and you look through the history, and all you have to do is remember for 2 seconds, that humans have only been around for a couple 10,000 years. That's it. And this planet's been chilling for billions. Come on. In the eyes of the universe, in the eyes of the Force, we are all equal. We're all on the bottom. We are not that level. This concept of equality is a social construct. And as long as we can remember that all living creatures are held the same as in the eyes of the Force, then we can realize that we are all equal. We all have the same rights to being alive and living. We all are here somehow, some way, at this point in time. We are all here, and we all have to deal with this. And we are all, from dogs to presidents, we all have to deal with the consequences of our society and our world. So we are all equally within it. We are all equally within it. I'm going to get to you, Lord. I saw it, but I want to break the chains that line me. I want to be liberated. I want you to listen to that Sith code. All right. Here's what I love about the Sith code. Forget everything else about it for 2 seconds. For 2 seconds. That line, that last line, what is it? That last line is, the Force shall set me free. The Force shall set me free. Not the Sith, not the code. The Force shall set me free. The idea that through victory my chains are broken, right? Well, through victory. Okay. Through victory. How many ways to victory are there? The idea, again, false dichotomy, that there's only one way or there's only 2 ways to achieve victory. That's a false dichotomy. That's blinders. That's the thing. But what is the rest of it? What's the last line of that code? The Force shall set me free. So that's what you want to focus on. That's who you want to be. That's where you're going to find your liberation. You're going to find your liberation not in any kind of idea of equality, and not in any kind of idea of anything else. You're going to find your liberation through the Force, the Zoe, the flow, the universe, whatever you want to call it. That's where you want to spend your time. You want your chains broken, you need to dig into the Force. You need to dig into the Force. And I guarantee you that's gonna open it up. You start here to work outward. And if you focus on the Force, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. So remember, like, I'm fine with it. Focus on those last two lines. One, define what victory means for you. Define how you can get there. And again, you can get there through Jedi philosophy. Don't let that fool you. Or even, like, not that you have to, but like, you can do that. 3, the Force shall set me free. That's not a Sith thing. That's an everybody thing. Oof. That's a true M-way thing. You know what I mean? That is, and that is the secret. That is the secret. And that's where the philosophy is. And that's where you'll find your liberation, is through the Force. So that's where, that's where I'd put it. Jolie Bindo states that Jedi are not allowed to love. All right. Oof, I'm gonna get that out. Jolie Bindo, yes. Well, he states that the Jedi Order has a thing, and it's not that they're not allowed to love; it's that they're not allowed to have attachments. Those are two different things. Jedi are allowed to love; they're not allowed to have attachments. So those are two different things. And if you want to get into a real discussion about real Jedi, when you truly love someone, you love without attachment. Real love, like deep, passionate, caring love, where you truly care about that other person, is that you care about their autonomy and you do not possess them. The problem with where we see it is the example, obviously, of Anakin, where it's clearly possession, where it's clearly, this is mine and I want to hold on to it. This is mine and I will not share it. This is mine and I will save it and things like that. And it will be mine until I say so. With those, that's attachment. That's greed. That's not allowed. But when you love someone, again, in the real world, it is a non-attachment thing. You have to love them for who they are, and you have to love their autonomy, and you have to love their freedom and who they love. Is a very hands-off thing. It's an appreciative thing. It's a grateful thing. It's an amazing thing, right? Love is a good thing. So no, Jedi can love, and Jolie Bindo is actually an example of the opposite of that. And yes, we could go through an entire list of different cultures who call it different things: Force, Zoe, flow, universe, energy, chi, ki, prana, mana, blah blah blah. It's a lot. Look at those at power and those meant to suffer. All right, now here's my problem: is that second part. Look at those at power. Look at them. I don't know what you want to look at about people in power. They're shitheads. No one is meant to suffer. No one is meant to suffer. No one is meant to suffer. No one was put here with a divine mandate to suffer. No one is here for the sole purpose of suffering. I get the Buddhist ideology of we manifest our own suffering through desire. But no one is meant to suffer. No one is meant to suffer. And I get, again, there's plenty of religions out there that subscribe to this view. But I don't agree with it at all. No one was put here to suffer. Animals weren't put here to suffer. Plants weren't put here to suffer. Human beings weren't put here to suffer. Any suffering that's caused is caused out of darkness, is caused out of the pursuit of power, that is caused out of the pursuit of greed and attachment. These are where suffering comes from, which, again, going back to the Buddhist concept, suffering derives from desire. And that's the desire to control. That's the desire of power. That's the desire of ownership. That's all of that stuff. That's where that comes from. It's comparison is the thief of joy. Suffering, it comes from a lot of areas, but like no one is meant to suffer. No one is meant to suffer at all. This Masonic system creates suffering. The only thing that really creates suffering is the idea that we all want to live a peaceful life. We all want to eat. We all want to sleep. We all want to have some fun, good experiences. We all want to, you know, uh, we all want to experience good things, whether that's family, friends. We all want to do things that we find enjoyable. Uh, these are things that we want, and we don't find them to be ridiculous asks. We want water, we want food, we want sleep, we want camaraderie. And no one is promised those things, unfortunately. We live in a world where those things could be provided and could be promised, but they're not. And so, in those wants, and just wanting that basic stuff, we find our suffering, because even if we have it, we're capable of seeing that others don't. And that's heavy. That's burden. Let's go up here real quick. I'm going to get to you, Base Jedi. I gave into the dark side I hate so much. Hating is not the issue. Look, hating, anger, that's not the issue. There's things to hate in this world. There's things to hate in this world. That's not the issue. The issue is understanding it. You don't just stop there. You don't stop there. It's not giving into the dark side to realize you hate something. It's giving into the dark side when you give up, man. Don't give up. Yeah, hey, again, we're in a society and we're in a time right now that's it's going through a change, and change is uncomfortable and it's not good and it's not pretty, and we still have more to go on the downslope before we can get onto the other side and get that, and then we have a upward climb to get over that hump. We got some time, and it's gonna get tough for all of us, and you can hate, but what are you gonna do with it? And what does that even mean? Like, you have to dig into yourself, and you have to understand that, because these are all pretty words. These are all very Darth Baney words, but you have to like dig into it. You have to get into it and understand words are one thing. What are your actions? Words are one thing. What are your actions? Your actions are gonna speak, man. I want to get to this. I'm going through a lot of suffering right now. Well, I don't know what I'm being thankful for, but one, sorry to hear that, because it's no fun for anybody to go through that. It seems to be a pretty universal experience, which of course doesn't help. I mean, there's always the small comfort of knowing you're not alone out there, that people can relate and that people have made it on the other side, but ultimately that doesn't affect what a person's going through at the time. So whatever you're going through, sorry to hear it. And it's about working through it, and it's not deserved. No one deserves suffering. No one's meant for suffering. And it's not a divine, as I said, it's not a divine mandate. It happens. It's the world we live in. It's the societies that we live in. It's, the universe is built in a very, specific way. And I don't think we've really developed a society that flows along with it. So we're going to find ourselves at odds. And even when it flows perfectly, especially in this world, we can look at nature. Even when things flow perfectly, life is impermanent, right? Everything is impermanent. There's always change, and that's hard. As much as we may want something to stick around forever, we don't get that. We don't get that choice, and that can be very difficult. So so it still exists. there's just no escaping it, because again, it comes back to want, it comes back to enjoyment, and it comes back to the things that we don't feel are tough ass, and we don't feel like we're asking for a lot, we don't feel like we're being selfish. Technically we probably are, just a little bit, but that's okay, that's fine, we're allowed to be. That's not darkness at all, right? But it's painful, it's tough, it's the various challenges that we have to face in life, and the lessons we have to go through. But they're all reflective too. They're all reflective of, again, they're informative. These things are informative of what we want and who we are. If we hate something, it's because we view it as a negative. Why do we view that as a negative? And it usually comes back to seeing ourselves and others that we care about suffering. And if we are suffering, it's usually because we want people and ourselves to be happy and to live stress-free, normal lives, and not to have to deal with these very heavy, painful experiences. And those aren't bad things. The suffering doesn't feel good. The hate doesn't feel good. The anger doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. We don't like it. We don't want to hold on to it, but they are often very much reflective of the things that we love, and the things that we care about, and the things that we hope for, and the things we would like. And that usually boils down to people living a good life. And that boils, whether that's ourselves or whether that's our loved ones, whether that's the entire world. It's a it doesn't really matter. What it does matter is that we find ourselves wanting a better world and wanting a better life. If not for us, for others, we want those things. And in that want, we find that we are powerless. We don't really have the ability to control those changes. We don't have the ability to manifest that world and that society. And that's painful, and that's and that leads to suffering, and that's hard. I don't recommend any of the Buddhist or Taoist ways of dealing with that, because it's very non-attachment. And I think personally, I do believe in the Qui-Gon quote: your focus determines your reality, and the things that we choose to focus on is gonna help or hinder. It's not going to remove the suffering, and it's not going to remove the hate. It's not going to remove the pain, but we can alter how we perceive things. And that's by focusing on the people that we care about. And that's by focusing on the things that we can do to make this life just a bit more enjoyable. If you have someone in the hospital that's very difficult, but what can you do for them? What can you do to make their life in that bed just a tad bit better, right? Like, what's a memory that you can provide for them? I have one for when my dad went into the hospital. He did not leave it, but well, he didn't leave it alive, I should say, right? But one of my memories, and it's a good one technically, right? Bad situation, pretty painful for everybody. Definitely some memories attached with tears and stuff. But I got like a little mini speaker, a Bluetooth speaker. I put that in his hospital room, and then I snuck in some gin and tonic. Like and then I mixed up some gin and tonics, which was his favorite drink, one of his favorite drinks. And doctor approval, by the way, doctor approval. And basically, and we ordered, my mom ordered in some food, like catering style food, that in his hospital room became like this mini party. And he got to smile, and he got to appreciate it. And while that was also a little painful, because one, it's going to be the last, right? He knew that. But in that moment, still, there are good memories, good laughs, good things. You ease it a little bit, right? You do those things to make it a little easier. It doesn't remove the pain. It doesn't remove the suffering. It's tough. But your focus determines your reality. Like, what are we focusing on? Where are we at? What can we do to move forward? We can't change society. We can't change the world. So what can you do? And that usually just means making it a little bit better for you and yours in the circle around you, providing a space. One of the things that I wanted to talk about relates to that. The things that I want to talk about, when I started this, was that there's a person that I met, and they run, this very successful event, and they're struggling right now with the world and how it is, um and things of that nature. And they're, you know and as such, they're listening to not good sources. They're listening to people who I wouldn't yeah, it's people I don't trust at all. They're not good sources, and they feed off of fear, and they are trying to turn people based on this fear, right? And but and a lot of people, when they hear you mention those names, I'll throw one of them out there, Ben Shapiro. When someone hears that you're listening to Ben Shapiro, man, that's a turnoff for a lot of people. Like, that's an automatic red flag for a lot of people here in America. I don't know where everybody else is around the world, but here in America, if you're like, yeah, I'm listening to Ben Shapiro, there's a lot of people that are going to be like, oof, ooh, okay, this conversation's over, right? But I look at actions. Your focus determines your reality, and the fact is that this guy's still creating safe spaces, inclusive spaces for everybody in his community. It doesn't matter their skin color, their gender, their orientations, any of that. It doesn't matter any of that. What matters is creating this space within his community. He cares about his community and creating that space for them. And so, like, it can be like, oof, you were listening to the wrong people. But again, you look at the actions. The focus determines the reality of the situation. Your focus determines that reality. And the reality is that this person's still doing good work, and they haven't thing. And that, again, that relates back. If you find yourself in that uncertainty, and you find yourself, be careful, be careful what sources and people you listen to. But at the same time, make sure your actions are still aligned. You don't lose your ideals. Don't lose the ideals that keep you moving ahead. Don't lose the ideals that motivate you. Don't lose the ideals that inspire you. Stick to those ideals. You can like certain things. You can listen to certain people, Ben Shapiro, Darth Bane. It doesn't matter, right? Questionable sources, but what are your actions? How are you moving forward? How are you living life? What are you doing to move forward, to break your chains? To use that thing. I'm sorry for your life. Thank you. Happened a few years ago. I've gone through that process of mourning. It's always fun. Funny enough, when I wrote the situational Jedi, I didn't use it. I didn't use it in there. I didn't use that experience for heartbreak and loss. I mean, I drew upon it, but it's not the one that I used, because it's powerful as it is, right? Not everybody experiences that, and it's hard to relate. And I wanted to bring it down to a much more everyday level for that chapter, because I think we experience loss and heartbreak on a more everyday level. It's not always something major like that. It's not always losing someone who you love and care about, on that permanent scale. But that's the world. That's the universe. Nothing's permanent. I will die. Like, these videos in this channel is eventually going to disappear. And like 200 years, ain't no one going to know the name Opie Macleod, right? Like, we all turn to dust. And that can be scary for some people. You talk about 200 years. What about 10,000 years, right? That can be scary. That can be a very scary idea, for people, that it's all it's all pointless, right? But I look at that and I'm like, it doesn't matter, right? So might as well live your life in a meaningful and impactful way, and make your time and the time of the people around you just a bit better. Because, as pointed out by everybody in the chat, everybody's dealing with stuff. Society's going through stuff. People are suffering. People are not having a good time. Uh, and so, if we can do something to alleviate that, if we can do something to improve that, if we can do something to adjust our focus and appreciate the moment and dig into the moment and just have that moment and have that memory of understanding that, look, this isn't going to last forever, so we might as well make that good memory now, right? Like so that's it. We don't die, we multiply. Sounds like a really good line in a rap song. We don't die, we multiply. I mean, no matter what your beliefs are, we all die, right? um, because the end of one existence and the start of another is still a death. And death, and understanding it, yeah, you can be like, okay, if someone believes in heaven, let's say, right, that's your soul, that's who you are, that's your personification, gets to go to another level of existence, right? But what does that change for the people that are left? Nothing, right? Because you are gone from their lives and your presence will be missed and your absence will have an impact. So there is death. Absolutely, there is death, and we die. And that can be taken on any level, even if you're someone who doesn't believe in that stuff, right? But you believe in the spiritual concept of returning to the source. If you believe in atoms being redistributed, any of that, it doesn't matter your exact belief on what happens in the afterlife, but there is death. We do die, and that loss is felt by the survivors and by the world, even if just briefly. It's felt. There is an echo, there is an absence, there's going to be an absence there, and that's tough. And anybody who's lost anybody understands that. They have felt that absence. That even applies to pets. Anything that you love, that loss is there, and death is there. It's not a bad thing. It's not something to try to dismiss. It's something to accept. And in accepting that, then we can move forward. What happens afterwards is what happens afterwards, and we all have to deal with that. We all have to deal with that when the time comes, right? Like, all we can do now, all we can ever do now in this moment, is be who we want to be the person we want to be. Go be the Jedi that you want to be. Go live that philosophy. Go be that person. Go leave a positive impact in your life and the lives of those around you. APBP test, right? Go live it. Go be it, and go do that thing. And in that, you will, probably leave a bigger absence. And but it's, yeah, we all die. Everything dies. Everything dies. This universe will eventually die. All things die. Now, whether you feel that's a transformation or a transfiguration or a transmutation or whatever, that black holes are really just sucking up matter and spitting them out somewhere else and reconstituted, and that's how other universes outside of the Virgo cluster are being created. Like, hey, plenty of theories out there, but there's still, and that loss is still going to be felt. That absence is still going to be felt. It's still observable. All things die, and what happens thereafter is what happens thereafter, and we'll all have to deal with that. But all we have is now, and our chance now to live as Jedi and to do better and to be better and to be who we want to be who we wish others would have been for us. There's that popular saying that's been going around: who you are now is who you would have felt comfortable with as a child. Meaning, like, if you're good with yourself, if you've worked on yourself, and you've kind of embraced whatever your nerd culture is, right? If you've embraced yourself and really come to appreciate yourself, whoever that person is who your child self would have, felt comfortable around. And that's always an interesting thing. Like, so build towards that, be that, who's that person? Who's that figure? Who's that, is it a mother figure? Is it a nerd? Is it a mentor? Is it Jedi master? Like, who is that person that you felt you needed? And you didn't get the opportunity to meet, or you didn't get the chance to think, or maybe you were just too young and didn't listen. Like, who is that person? Go be that person. Go live that person. No one's stopping you, right? That's one of our things, right? You are limitless. That was one of our cards. You are limitless. You have the potential to do anything and be anyone. You can be anyone. Who do you choose to be? Who do you choose to be? So, your focus determines your reality. There's a lot we can't change. There's a lot that we are powerless to affect, but what makes that worse is we are in a current cycle of change. This world and society is changing. It is in the process of change, and we're going to come out the other side. My personal belief, Star Trek style, right? It's going to be bad, and then we're going to be better for it. Are any of us going to be alive to see it? Probably not. But I think that's where we're at, and we have to live through that. And that's on us to then push on to the next generation and to keep them inspired and to keep them going, because we're in this cycle of change, and we're going to get to a better spot, but it's going to take work. It's going to take even more work, which sucks. And there's going to be more suffering. We can't do much about that, except what we can do about it, right? We can change our perception, we can change our focus, and we can do things that way. And we can try to inspire people to be better. That's it. That's all we got. That's all we got. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. Doesn't matter what we look like on the outside. We are capable of extraordinary things. We are capable of extraordinary things. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. But this crude matter does die, and it does leave a void. But we are luminous beings. We are luminous beings. Be that. Experience that. Enjoy that. Be that. Go be a Jedi. Go pick up those books, or online. Just read the Jedi Circle, the new version of the Jedi Circle. Read the Jedi Circle. You'll be good. All right. If there's nothing else, we're already coming up on an hour and a half of this nonsense, and I got my chores to do. So if there's nothing else, any more cards or anything to be pulled, then I'm going to call this, because we've been here and I've been rambling for a very long time. Your focus determines your reality. Go be a Jedi. And remember, you can do it. Nothing is impossible. All right. Is that all? We all good? Okay, I'm going to call this one then. You are loved. What else we got? What's this one? You are fearless. You have hope. You have hope. I can face any challenge as long as I have faith in my path. That my path is on the side of the light. That's a good one. Stay on the side of the light, Jedi. All right. Okay. Looks good. Looks like we're all done here. All right, everybody. First of all, thank you, everybody who joined me. Yee, Albert, Base Jedi, Journey of Me, Peyton, everybody who jumped in. Really appreciate you. And I'll try to be here next week as well, around the same bat time, same bat channel. And then we'll do some more and maybe have some more discussions. All right, everybody. May the Force be with you. And bye. And thank you. And we'll definitely until